May we learn together in hope and joy. Please be seated. Today you are fortunate for many reasons. One of them is that you get a twofer today because we're not observing not one but two holy days. One of them is All Saints. Anyone who doesn't have a professional affiliation know what November 2nd is?
All Souls.
Catholic. All Souls. And so you might have noticed that we had two opening prayers, two collects, one for all saints and one for all souls. And there'll be a little bit of all souls later on. But that's really all that I'm going to talk about in terms of all souls, because all saints is when you remember all of the wonderful saintly people in your life, and all souls is when you remember everyone else. And there's value in both. And that's not exactly right, but nevertheless, I want to think about saints today. I've been thinking about saints a lot lately, and one of the things that I realized as I reflected on saints is that often we admire saintliness in other people, but wouldn't necessarily want that same saintliness for ourselves. And it's especially true when we think about some of these early saints and some of these medieval saints who are a little unusual. Saint Simeon. Saint Simeon is famous because he lived on a tower in the middle of the desert. And people said, oh, that's admirable, that's holy. Not for me, though. Would any of you want to sign up to live on the top of a tower? They didn't even have sunscreen back then. Like, I don't even know how one would survive, but he did. There's St. Catherine of Siena. St. Catherine of Siena, we love St. Catherine of Siena. Reputed to have subsisted on the Eucharist alone for her nutrition for the final years of her life. I don't know about you, but that seems good for her. But not so much. Look, we make really good Welsh cookies here. It's like that's a temptation I couldn't avoid. Speaking of temptation, St. Benedict of Nursia, reputed to have jumped into a briar patch to avoid temptation. I'm not quite sure what a briar patch is. To be honest, I'm a little too urban, I guess, for that. But that doesn't sound comfortable. I feel like there could have been other paths for him to avoid temptation. And then there's St. Rose of Lima, who famously slept on broken shards of pottery every night to mortify the flesh. Any of you want to swap out your mattress for some broken pottery tonight? Any takers on that? Admirable, perhaps. Unusual, certainly. Good for her. Not so much for me. And that's true for those weird things, but that's also true for a lot of the other things, right? Like patience. Patience. I bring this up frequently in sermons because I don't have any. But I would love and admire others that do. When I'm driving, I like it when other people are patient, but I don't embody it myself. And there's a lot of virtues that we can look at that way. There's several virtues that Jesus mentions in our gospel reading today that, you know what, they sound great for other people, and I would really like it if they did it, but I don't know. Turn the other cheek. We've all heard turn the other cheek before, right? Turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek. Often when I think about turn the other cheek, what I think about is just not striking back at people who strike me, literally or metaphorically. Somebody is mean to me, and I am not mean to them, and I say, I have turned the other cheek. Someone slaps me, and I refrain from slapping them back, and I pat myself on the back and say, I turned the other cheek. But when we look more closely at what Jesus says, he has something more in mind than just turning the cheek and not striking back. He says, if anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Sounds good for the saints, maybe not for me. Now, I think what Jesus is calling us to do is to look at all people as people, because it's easy to look at someone who has committed robbery and look at them and say, that's a thief, not that's a person. And I've met lots of thieves in my life and heard their stories, and very often they have been put into a circumstance by their choices, surely, but by other factors in which their only option, at least in their mind, was to steal in order to survive. And I can step back and consider crime globally or generally, and I can say, yes, this is at work in our society. Everyone who steals has a story. Most everyone who steals has a reason for it, and maybe I should listen to what that reason is. I can step back objectively and do that. What I cannot do, though, is imagine someone stealing my coat and saying, wait a minute, friend, let me hear your story. Tell me, what's going on in your life that you needed this jacket? Do you want my shirt also? How about my shoes? What can I give? Like, that seems impossible. Is Jesus just naive? Does Jesus not understand how the world works? Has Jesus never been robbed? The answer to that question, by the way, is surely he was. You could not be a Jewish person living in the first century under the oppression of the Romans and not be robbed. You knew what it meant and what it felt like to be robbed, and yet he still says, if they take your coat, give them your shirt. That seems impossible. That seems like it's something for the saints, not for us. Well, friends, let me suggest to you that one of the glorious roles that we're going to hear about in our prayers of the saints is that they set an example for us that we might never reach. And that's okay. Because it is the aspiration, it is the goal of perfection that draws us and stretches us and changes us. So maybe I don't get there, but I at least take one step forward. And if I take one step forward, that's pretty good. But Jesus, he isn't content with the turning the other cheek. He makes it even harder, friends. He says, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. I don't know about you. I'll speak only for myself. But there are plenty of times in which I say the right thing because that's what you have to do. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever done the right thing because that's what you do? And many of the times that I've said the right thing because that's what you say, or done the right thing because that's what you do, I have thought in my heart, rumble, rumble, rumble. And it's not actually that, it's the words that I use in my own head, not appropriate for this setting. Oh, I gotta be nice to my uncle, that son of a gun? Thanksgiving's coming, friends. Some of us are already preparing for that guy. You know what he's like. But in my heart, all I'm saying is, ugh, yuck. And Jesus says, that's not good enough. It's not good enough just to do the right thing and turn the other cheek. You need to love your enemies and pray for them. I don't know about you, but some of the most transparent moments of my life are when I am praying, because I'm talking to a God whom I believe at least knows exactly what's going on in my heart. And so there's no fooling that God. And so I might as well be honest. And I've got to pray for these people. Not just words because that's what you're supposed to do, but actually love them through my prayer. That seems impossible. And it is. If we're going to do it all the time, without error, without fail. But again, by setting that as the goal, even in not reaching, we are growing. And I think that's one of the great strengths of the saints, that they pull us along in this journey of life towards where we ought to be. And that is a gift that they keep on giving us. Speaking of giving, Jesus says, give freely. This is the one that really sort of annoyed me this week, Father. I confess to you that as I read it, I'm like, I don't like that. Give to everyone who begs from you, and if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Give to everyone who begs from you. Ugh. Have you not had the day in which every waking moment was somebody asking something of you? Every little note, every little message, every little phone call is them just taking. And then when you finally sit down and you think, I'm done giving, someone else says, hey, give me. Give to everyone, even the annoying ones, even the ones that are going to use it in ways that I don't think they ought to use it, even the ones that smell bad, even the ones that, oh, really? And yet, friends, giving money is easy. And I know that that might sound rough to some of our ears, but giving a couple of bucks is easy compared to what Jesus is really saying. Because when Jesus says give freely, sure, he has in mind the money that's in your pocket, but more than that, he's thinking about you. And do you give yourself to those people? Those people that make choices that we don't like, those people that smell of those choices that we don't approve of, those who wear us down. The ones that I try to pay off with a couple of bucks and hope that they leave me alone. Jesus says, give yourself to them. And sometimes, maybe most of the time, that feels impossible. But if you set it out there, and you hear, and you see, and you feel in your heart the inspiration of the saints, they will pull you along with them, that great cloud of witnesses. And we might, just might, get someplace better. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.